Hi, Alexia.
Hi, Hiroshi. Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you. Yeah, so you are living in the suburbs of Paris,
Yes, in the west of Paris, it's a suburb called Saint-Cloud.
Saint-Cloud. I see.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
People are commuting still?
No, we
Mm,
have been in lockdown for over 4 weeks. We're going into our fifth week
fifth
now of
week.
lockdown.
I
So
see.
people are not traveling to work. People are not, all the shops are closed except for the bakeries, the
Mm.
boulangerie, and the supermarkets.
Wow,
Everything
that's
else is
tough.
closed. Nobody is going to work.
Oh, so how is your business right now?
Well, I'm still working from home. My
Hmm.
husband is working from home. So far it's continuing, but I think a lot of businesses are being very challenged, especially
I
restaurants.
see.
Um,
Tell me, what kind of business you are involved right now?
so I am an HR
Mm.
director
Right,
for a very large French company
exactly.
where it's international. And
Hmm.
so, we have offices everywhere, basically in the world. So we continue to operate, and I work as a support function. So I continue to support those people who
Yeah.
are working. Yeah.
So through your apartment or house, it is how it is, and it is
Yeah.
difficult
How
work.
is it? um, it's not easy because we can only go outside for 1 hour a day unless we are doing shopping. So we can do 1 hour for exercise,
Mm.
or we can go shopping. But the police are are controlling the streets,
That means like
and
if you go out
especially
without
in
any,
Paris, it's difficult.
so if in that case, if you go out, and then police may ask you why you are going out.
Yes, you have to have a paper, and
Oh,
on the paper you have to declare there's four reasons. You can either be essential work, like if you're a nurse, or you can do shopping, or you can be visiting like a elderly. I have a friend, she's very elderly, she lives nearby, and I just go to her garden and we wave at each other, or I
I
call her.
understand.
So very essential things. So if you get stopped by the police, they check, and it has your address, so
Hmm.
they can see how far you are from your house.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like us, like Japan or France or Germany, anywhere, it's democratic countries, and
Yeah.
but even though, I mean, in Japan, it is tough to, police cannot control so much, but in France, in case of France, you have a kind of a different legal system, or just this
Well, I think
emergency.
for this situation, a lot of people are not in the streets. A
Mm,
lot of people are not. So in the beginning, they just said, okay, stay home. And
mm.
then they saw that more and more people were, because it's beautiful weather here. It's
I
springtime in
understand. I
Paris. It's
understand.
beautiful here. So everybody, they want to be outside. But, the death rate from the COVID virus is continuing to be fairly high in France. And so I think a lot of people are just saying, okay, we're going to stay home. We don't want to protect ourselves and other people.
I
So I
see.
think it's people are starting to think, yeah, it's not good
So
to go
they
outside.
admit
Um,
control from the police. Oh,
yeah, so you do get. So a lot of people in France, they have two, not a lot, wealthier people in France, they have
sure.
two houses, a country house and they live in Paris. A lot of Parisians and even people in my neighborhood, it's very quiet here because a lot of people have left. They went
Mm-hmm,
to the outside of, they go
mm-hmm,
outside in the countryside.
mm-hmm.
So it's also quieter here too
Yeah, I
because of
understand.
that.
And since you are, I mean, like a directing like a HR manager, so there are always kind of issue about so-called diversity or equalities, right?
Yes,
Mm,
yes, exactly. And
mm,
so now, so I'm doing two things. One thing is I'm doing actually training for employees. I'm
mm.
actually delivering training for employees on how to manage a team which is remote, because
Mm.
this is not usual for French people to
Right.
manage teams who they can't see. And then
That's
the second thing
tough.
I'm doing
Mm.
is also, we have some common processes that continue, but a lot of our HR people are working a lot on, do we have to put some people on furlough? Some people have to go on partial unemployment because there isn't enough work for them, and we cannot pay everybody's salaries forever. So
Mm.
they're investigating who needs to be put onto part-time leave or furlough and so on. So it's difficult now for
Yeah, it is
HR people.
difficult because I'm watching the TV, like a CNN or like a BBC every day, and I found that, for example, like in New York City, it's like a ghost town, and a lot of unemployment is going on by there in the United States. How about in France? You have a similar problem?
Well, the government is helping because they know that when this is over, we have to start working again. So they're trying to, they're going to give money to some businesses to keep them going and so on. So, but of course, for restaurants, for waiters, those kind of small businesses, the government is supposed to help them, but it's always complicated to try and get the paperwork going and time, So,
particularly in a smaller business, they must be suffering a lot.
Oh yeah, I think I heard, like I said, that some. Well, there are some. So, for example, we have a market, where people are selling fruits and vegetables in a
understand.
open space, right? Like a regular market. So they now are delivering. So our town has a website, and they have all of the producers. And so a lot of people I know, they are delivering. They ask online, and they deliver, to your outside your house. You go and pick it up.
Oh, which means
so they're finding solutions around things.
This is one of the solutions, like ordinary market people, like farmers, I mean, they start delivering, collecting things and delivering to the individuals.
Yeah, exactly. It's a way to keep going. And a lot of the restaurants are doing delivery service as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, because in Paris, you gotta have a lot of series of kind of events like Notre Dame problems, or also, media, terrorism.
So again, I think people are trying to be creative, finding solutions. So, for example, for Easter, they held people were outside, but spread apart, and they broadcast the Easter services of Notre Dame. Well, they're not, Notre Dame is closed, but for the churches, they did outside.
So in your company, of course, if you don't mind, would you please tell me, of course, there are factory workers, but there are many kind of people, right? How about complaint from the working class people? Are there any issue or?
So far, no. I think people are, they of course they're worried. I think they're worried. They're not so much complaining. It's more they're a little bit scared, like what's going to be the future. Yeah,
it's everybody's issue. Generally speaking, inside Paris, of course in Tokyo too, of course low income families, or like wealthy people, always there are divisions. But in this case, in the coronavirus, are there any problem about the low income family area?
A bit. I mean, because you have these, high-rise buildings where people are in very small apartments, and there's lots of people in those apartments, and so it's not easy. You cannot practice social distancing, when people are close together. But I haven't heard of. I mean, basically, in those areas, I have heard people are not. They are outside. And the police are, they're not controlling them so much because even before the virus, I think the police were afraid to go in some of those neighborhoods, and I don't know if they're spending the time to try and enforce things.
How about the immigrants? How about immigrants from the Africa or many places?
Again, I haven't really heard of anything. I haven't heard anything of this. I think if you are illegal, if you are an illegal person here, it's really going to be difficult for you because if you're not, they have places where they're keeping people to help refugees and so on, and that's continuing. But for example, if you are not working here legally, it's going to be hard for you, right?
I understand.
Because, maybe all those kinds of mostly low income jobs are going to be difficult to get. So. But I haven't heard of any unrest or anything like that.
I understand.
No.
Go ahead. All right. Okay. Now, also, talking about the future. Of course, your company need to recover, and everybody need to recover. And Italy now hitting the apex seems like that. But how about France right now?
So President Macron our president was just on the news last night, and he said we're going to continue until May 11th, and then they're start to see like who can go back to work. How they can start.
There's more hope there.
Aggressively starting up again, because now the peak, and now it's starting to go down. We see it's starting to go down.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your information. I hope that the place stays safe and healthy.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. And I hope that in Japan it continues to be fine and it doesn't get too serious.
Yeah, I try to do my best. Anyway, thank you very much. Okay, goodbye.
Take care. You and your family.
はい、パリの郊外に住んでる、HR マネージャーと言いますとね、いわゆる、なんて言うんでしょうか、人事とかね、そっちの方面をやる人なんですね。彼女はですね、非常に大きな、建築関係とか、そういう、グローバルな建築の仕事をしている、その会社の、人的な、ものを、リソースをね、いろいろやって、トレーニングを提供したりする人なんですよね。で、彼女が住んでる地域、非常に面白かったですね。パリの郊外なんで、農家の人たちが、いわゆる、マーケット、市場をやってるんですよね。ところが今回のコロナのことで外出が厳しく制限されてて、警察官がずっと回ってて4つの項目ね、例えば看護婦さんとか特別な事情があるとか、そういう項目に該当しないと、もう外出しちゃいけないというぐらい厳しい制限が今かかってるんですね。そういう中で例えば市場の人たちは市場ができない、大変ですよね。そこでみんなで考えて、その市場に農産物を持ち寄って、そしてそれを一人一人が必要な人のところに配っていくというデリバリーのシステムを作ったというのがこのコロナウイルスのね中でできていったということみたいですね。パリは一応ね、いろんなことが過去にルーブルノートルダムが焼けたりとかいろんなことがありましたよね。それからテロにあったりもありました。でも今回またそういうことが起きて大変なんですけどね、今のところ平穏で、なんとかみんなこの深刻な中でもね、ちゃんと生活をしているということでした。早く終わればいいなと、彼女も言ってましたね。さてと、また次の国に行ってみたいと思います。